having more than one gas tank in an old truck or any truck that uses a lot of gas is an amazing feature. And that's what I have right here. The problem is, my rear tank just barely sprung a leak a couple months ago, and I really missed my back tank, so we're going to fix it. I fixed it 15 years ago, and it's held up this long, but this time I'm going to fix it for good, so in 40 years from now, it's still not rusted out. Keep watching. So last time I was here, I sealed up right in these corners right here, and peel that off, the brace. It has almost like a, it's a nylon webbing. I replaced it. That was what was there before, but I just went down and bought some more nylon webbing, kind of like a tie down, and put that on. But you'll see it closer here in a minute, but that's pretty much just JB Weld. Gas can. So this is where it's leaking from. You can see it's eating up some of the beautiful red paint that I had laying around when I did this 15 years ago. And you can see the JB Weld finally gave out. So JB Weld, you see right here, what I did was I actually punched out the holes bigger and pushed JB Weld inside, but eventually after 15 years, there we go, it finally succumbed. But for 15 years to get out of a tank like that, and this tank isn't rusted on the inside, it actually rusted from the outside in because of the strap held moisture. You can hear my Expedition running in the background, and that's because I have the gas tank plugged into the exhaust. What I'm doing is I'm running virtually non-flammable gas, inert gas, through the tank. So I've pulled out the fuel or the level sensor, or some tanks it would be the fuel pump. Pulled that out, so now I have an inlet and an outlet, and that allows the exhaust fumes to circulate in there and dry everything out. Best case scenario, what you want to do before you ever even attempt this is just let the gas tank just sit open and air out. Completely pull out any wetness of gas on the sidewalls, everything. You want it all gone. You don't want a little puddle in there sloshing around, nothing. And this will do it. You let this run for long enough, take the flashlight, shine it in there, you'll be able to see no gasoline in there whatsoever. And then once we get through with this step, what we're going to do is fill it full of water. But you don't want to fill it full of water if you have any sort of wetness in there, because gas and water, or gas and oil and water, gas is an oil and water don't mix, and so you'll just seal the gas on the side and you'll have water in there still, and it's just holding it and trapping it in there and just holding it against the sides, and there's still gas everywhere. But let it dry out as long as possible and fill it with water. So we have it halfway filled up with water, and all water is doing is taking up space inside the tank and giving less area for vapors to build up. So essentially now I have a lot smaller container. Instead of, I think it's 19 gallons, I got 10 gallons worth of space. And if I've done everything properly, I shouldn't get anything. But I want to actually initiate a burn before I get my face down to it and I start brazing it or welding. And so what I'm going to do is take a propane torch, and once I feel that I've done everything I can, I'm safe as possible, I'm going to actually stick the propane torch right inside here. I got this open, and I got the fuel neck open and the vent open. But if it does flash, that's fine. I want it to flash off and burn anything that it would, because it'll only burn one time, and I want it to, if it's going to burn, I want it to burn when I'm standing feet away than when I have my face right next to it. So we're going to do a flash off right now. So I'm going to wear a little bit of protection. I do got a B rated, an ABC rated fire extinguisher on hand. So if something does, but if it does blow, it'll blow. But I got large enough vent holes in here. The worst I've ever seen is it goes whoosh. Just a big Zippo lighter. Nothing, not even a flare-up. Why? Because I made sure it was dry, super duper dry. I aired it out. I took half the volume away, so I took a lot of precautions, but don't think you can actually wash off gasoline with soap and water. The nice thing about gasoline is it just evaporates. It evaporates and goes. It's gone. I mean, people say that it gets into the pores, and maybe it does get in the pore, but it'll still evaporate out. Gasoline that's just the way it does. It evaporates out. It's not like oil where it actually coats and sticks. It'll completely dry out. And you saw that. I didn't even get the teeniest bit of flare up. Not even around the lid, the nozzle, not even down here on the filler neck that's soaked in gas, the rubber, nothing. So I feel very confident to start brazing on it. If you don't feel confident in your abilities to do this, if the gas tank's super wet, again, just use JB Weld or something else like that. Don't do this. So I'm actually going to braze my holes right here with just a flux-coated bronze brazing rod. But another little precaution is I'm going to run the vehicle at the same time to continually feel the inside with inert gas to just as a quadruple precaution, just to keep the fumes flowing in and out of the other hole. So yeah, I can just flux coat, or I can bronze coat all of this and fill in where it's actually thinner, where it's actually rusted from the outside. But I can sit here and just kind of fill this in and fill in my holes and get a nice coating on here. So I'll start up the vehicle and we'll start doing that. There we go. We can let that cool down for a second. Got a hole in there. We let that cool down for a second, and then we can tip it with the water in and actually see if we got any pinholes, and then we can reapply. But you can kind of coat it, and especially in really thin, rusty areas, you're better off. You have a better chance of saving the hole, filling it with a brazing rod than you do actually welding it. But now we can tip it and check for leaks. Finally got it sealed. It actually took quite a bit of work because I was just working in the middle, just trying to get the known areas, but it was rusted in this whole area, and wherever there's, I mean, the gas tanks are thin to begin with, but they get even thinner when you add rust into it. So eventually I got it by going wide enough to just coat everything, but I'd find little pinholes. I'd have to come back in, flow it, move it. So it's all sealed up. It's good. I pressure tested it by spraying soapy water on there, kinking one line, blowing air into the other, and holding my hand over here. This is where a third hand would come in handy, and got to the point where no air bubbles, the tank bulges up, looks good, looks like it should. So hopefully this will seal up. It should be good. It should outlast the life of the tank. You know, the brazing rod doesn't rust, so it should be good for 30 years. So now I got all this water left in here. I've dumped out as much as I can, but the way it's designed, you can't dump it all out. But I'm going to use a tip I learned from Zippo Varga. Got the line in there, I got my air nozzle, and play around with it a little bit, but you just get it until it starts blowing out moisture. There we go, siphoning, that quick. All the paint is touched up. It's a nice rusty metal primer to keep it from rusting. Some new rubber hoses. This one right here, if you don't need to, don't replace that one. That was expensive. That's probably about $40 worth of hose. That one's still good. But the equipment that I used was actually oxyacetylene. You probably couldn't, you can't use propane, you couldn't use MAP gas. They just don't get hot enough to do bronze brazing rod. You probably MIG, not flux core, but you could probably MIG. You couldn't stick weld. You could probably TIG if you're set up with that to be able to weld that thin a metal. The metal's Swiss cheese, so you got to be careful. But if this is your daily driver, watch my video right after this on using the epoxies to seal your gas tanks, and you can be up and going in an hour. And most of the time you don't even need to pull the gas tank out. If you see where it's leaking, you can just seal it up, clean it up, seal it up, and watch the video, and you won't miss work tomorrow. So watch that video. Don't forget to rate this video, thumbs up or thumbs down, comment. See you guys soon. Bye. Nothing but sky here in a second.
I'd probably stay in the actual tire marks, because there is that little... You got it. There you go. Keep going.
Woo! Nothing but sky.